Hi everybody, my name is Gabi Souza. I am a Black trans woman and I'm here to talk to you all about things that we go through and answer some questions that you all might be asking yourselves. We're reporting live now from Philomena and Ruth, and we're going to get right into it. Music that I'm listening to right now is kind of like all over the place. I'm a big fan of Tiana Taylor, so I'm really like having her album in heavy rotation right now. Mark Bassey, love him. And just anything that's like really R&B. I've just been like in a really R&B mood lately, so any R&B.
What's your
My power anthem? My power anthem would have to be, and it's a new song too, and I'm not sure if everyone has heard it, but it is Black March by Beyonce. Love that anthem. Y'all need to listen to it with everything that's going on in the world too. Listen to it. So that's my power anthem right now. I actually just recently started watching Scandal again. Now I've already like seen it all. Like I was really like on it. I was obsessed with Olivia Pope and I was obsessed with Scandal. And I just started back watching it again because it's that good. Sleeping all day. Procrastination, honestly, is a bad habit of mine, surprisingly. My sign, I'm a Leo. Yee, we love Leo power. And we are procrastinators. Like, you know, cats are the sign for Leos, and what? Cats are fucking lazy. Oh. Are lazy.
You could say fucking.
Okay, I can say fucking. And they're lazy. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a big procrastinator. No shame there. Okay, well, I would like a T-bone steak, asparagus, and a baked potato. A loaded baked potato, though. Oh, bacon, cheese, sour cream, all of that good stuff. You know, all the bad stuff. That's a good question. I don't think I actually have done anything for myself in a while, as sad as that is. There's just been a lot going on, and a lot of changes, so I don't think that I've been able to like fully put a lot and pour into myself, unfortunately. Wanting to do that, I mean, it would be much better than what it is for me now mentally. And I just see it like just opening up. And I think like doing things like this and like collaborations and meeting new people and interacting has helped in that way. So just new opportunities, like more positive thoughts about self, more positive affirmations towards self, and so forth. So that's what that looks like for me. Oh, my style icon. I don't really have a style icon. I have not, especially recently. I think prior it was like Kim Kardashian and that whole vibe and that whole look, and that aesthetic. But I think as of recently, as I've started to like come into my own womanhood, I've kind of like diverted from that look and I kind of put things together that I like and that make me feel good and that look good on me. So I guess I would be my own style icon if that's the case. Drink of choice. My drink of choice would probably have to be a Manhattan Up. I will say, like, the first time that I ever, and I, even in like, I call it like pretty privilege, which means you have passing privilege. And for a while, I did revel in that. And I don't think it really dawned on me that I could still be discriminated against as I was passing. And, you know, I was fluid and I did everything right. You know, went to school and did all these things and got a good job. But unfortunately, that was not true. Last year of November, I was working for a company and I moved into my transition to start to present as my gender. And I talked to HR, and HR had no policy in place. They basically told me that I could not present just yet. I had to wait until they figured out how to handle this situation. And so that was very like devastating for me, of course. And then finally they came back, they came up with something that they sent out to the entire staff, which also for me was like kind of like humiliating. And I mean, it just wasn't like our department, it went out to all departments. So it kind of like put the spotlight on me. And it was just very hard, like working in a male doctor-dominated space that, number one, didn't understand me as a black person, but also didn't understand me now as a black trans woman. And I'm sure in between there somewhere, there was also some an inability to respect me based off being a black gay man prior transition. So it just like became very hard and tiring and taxing, and I had to like seek therapy, and I quit my job, and it was just a lot. So that is my first experience. But there's a bunch of other experiences, just like in the dating world. It's hard for trans women like myself, especially black trans women, to find partners. And that's a challenging aspect for us to find love. And, you know, if you don't feel love, then that rolls into, you know, the things that you have to deal with the outside world. And that can, like, really break you down. So I'm sure that, especially in dating, and I am dating now and I'm fine, but, you know, if I had to not be dating, I think that would be very hard for me. And that sense of loneliness of not having someone to talk to and so forth. So.
What are some other things besides just, you know, the dating and with your job training? What are some other things that maybe people aren't aware of that as a trans woman you're dealing with on the daily?
I think, and we talk heavily about it, it has been a conversation currently with the Black Lives Matter movement integrating black trans lives. And for whatever reason, queer and trans people that are black have always been kind of excluded from that movement. And it's very disheartening because we should all be fighting for the same thing. We're all black at the end of the day. And we should be included in that fight for equality and protection and things like that. One of the other things that we're dealing with as black trans women is our death rate. And I think a lot of that comes with the fact that we, like I said before, have a hard time finding partners. A lot of times we get into toxic relationships and we stay with partners that aren't comfortable with themselves and their own sexuality. And then that turns to aggression, and then that turns into, you know, a dead black trans woman, unfortunately. Not only do we have to like deal with violence, but also we experience that in relationships as well. And I think that that is something that is not being talked about enough right now in the media. You know, there's so much focus on the Black Lives Matter movement, and while I'm not taking anything from that, I'm just saying that black trans women and black queer people need to be included in that movement. And our deaths are just as important as, you know, the black man that got killed by a police officer, you know. And so it is my hope that with the agenda that we're now doing and, you know, the Black Trans Lives Matter hashtag and like more people becoming aware and us sharing our stories like I'm doing now and like sharing experiences and sharing, unfortunately, and it is sad to see it, but sharing those stories of those women that have lost their lives for whatever reason so that we also can learn to support ourselves and do things differently and support our sisters and you know, do things differently with that and create a sense of community where we protect and uplift each other. And I think with more visibility that could happen and pass on to, you know, our cis hetero communities as well. Unfortunately, we're not there. I think we're making progress, maybe slow progress, but again, with visibility of black trans women and us telling our stories this way, maybe we can gain some type of support and union from our peers. I think for a long time, me as a trans woman, I had a lot of like disassociation with the trans women that I saw in the media because I never looked at them or viewed them as a representation of myself. Our situations are very different. I'm sure they started possibly in some way. However, now they, you know, they can speak out on something, but then they can go to the protection of their ivory towers, as I call them, and they're safe, you know. They have teams of people that can protect them and do all these things. And if that is all that we're seeing, then it creates a disassociation from those people. We're not talking about, you know, the black trans women that are sex workers, that are living on the street, that are homeless. You know, we're not seeing those women. We're not hearing their stories. So for me, seeing them, yes, while it was very great to see that and I was happy for them, I didn't associate myself with it. And it didn't feel the same as someone like myself or someone else, some other Black trans woman telling her story, you know, that does not have access to health care, does not have a job, is having a hard time getting an apartment, you know. Those are the stories that I feel that we need to be hearing. And unfortunately, media and even just other outlets haven't made that possible as much as it should be. I think for me, Black trans joy, especially most recently, and I'll say this because for a long time, not only for my own protection, I wanted to live stealth. I didn't want my voice to be heard as a Black trans woman. I wanted to move into womanhood as easily and effortlessly as possible, and not maybe have to deal with what my trans sisters go through. But with everything that's happening now with the death of my sisters and countless Black trans women, I found it very important and valuable to be a voice and not live that stealth life and not live in the shadows and be ashamed of who I am, and sharing that with the world and giving that back and letting my face be seen and saying that, yeah, like, this is me and I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. For me, having that opportunity and living out and proudly and not having any fear around that. Well, I do have fear, but being like strong in that fear and being like, whatever happens, happens, but I'm making a story that people can see and that people can learn from and get educated from. And so that is what Black trans joy looks like for me. I think what we can do to help is like, and I'm not the only voice, but start listening to voices like mine. Give Black, trans, queer, and trans women the opportunity to tell their stories by giving them opportunities to collaborate with brands, collaborate with stores, collaborate with other people, and just speak out and share their aspect of what they're going through in their life, because it's not what Janet Mock is going through. It's not what Laverne Cox is going through, you know. And I am happy for those women, but we're on two different spectrums. And if that's the only representation that people have, then it's easy to say, oh, well, Black trans women are okay. Like, look at them. Like, look at Laverne and Janet. You know, if they can do that, then, you know, Gabi can do that too. If they can do that, then, you know, another Black trans woman can do that too, and that's not really the case. So I think once we start hearing stories and it starts at home, then maybe we can branch out and help a little better. Trans lives matter. Get out there in the world, get to know Black queer people, get to know Black trans women especially. Ask the necessary questions. There's a lot of people out there. I made a post like on my Instagram, I know, one day, and there were a lot of people that were like, you know, I don't know how to protect Black trans women. And the easiest thing to do is come to a Black trans woman and just ask her what she needs. You know, one of the things that a very, very, very good friend of mine has taught me, and it's just a phrase in which he always says to me, is, how can I support you? And that's how the conversation starts, you know. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing how to show up or be there for the Black, queer, and trans community. But once you make that statement to yourself, then you can begin to free yourself, and then you can ask those necessary questions, put yourself in those positions where you can have those conversations so that way you can learn. So that's the biggest thing. So hopefully people ask me some questions, or if you know a Black trans woman, or if you see one on Instagram, or if you see a Black queer person, you know, just get involved, ask necessary questions, make sure it's tactful, but ask those necessary questions for sure.